Ready. Check Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. That's right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. That's right, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though. I said Monday, Wednesday, Friday, yeah, you know it's a go. Okay, I see they going off, but we gon' rewrite it though.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Rewriters Room. We are the men with the pen. I am one third of our incredible trio. Armand Sadler, the Brock Lesnar of broadcasting, the Roman Reigns of rhetoric, the Paul Heyman of podcasting, and the John Cena of journalism. I'm here with my guys as per usual. Fellas, how y'all feeling?
Man, you know what it is. It's your boy CC. I ain't even going to do the intro today because I got to keep it real with y'all. We halfway through the year, and I'm going to just keep it honest with y'all. The WWE is changing. Life is changing. We on a whole new plateau. We about to take it to new levels. You know what I'm saying? Are you ready? I said, are you ready? That's all I gotta say, man. I'm here. I can't even do the intro today. We here for some. Man, it's a whole new. What we doing, man? This is a new company. We never did this before.
Brave new world.
About the experience we've literally never experienced before. This never happened in our lifetimes. Yeah. So, man, I'm ready. I'm here for it. I'm just giddy. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I made Grand Chan at.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that. Chan, introduce yourself, and then we can kind of get into that.
Just going live, reporting live from the mid-card, Grandpa Chan, 2 ends. Although, like you said, we'll get into it. Like I said, it's a brave new world. Maybe now the mid-card will have its day. We've been begging every week, praying, prayer circle, and everything. Maybe now we'll get our time.
We, of course, have some trivia for you in the name of Before We Write. Now, if I'm correct with the standings, Channing, you've won trivia 3 times, right? Because we did the previous 2 for Money in the Bank and Elimination Chamber.
Oh, yeah, all of them. Yeah, I think I have up to 3 now.
Yeah, wow. So you have 3 wins. I got 1. CC is currently with a donut, but hey, man, it might change in the future. CC is our maestro for Before We Write today, so I'm going to pass it over to him.
Welcome to the Before We Write segment. I am the host. I will have these 2 niggas spinning their wheels trying to figure out what the answers to these questions are. Who knows? Yeah, so what we're gonna do real quick, for those of you listening, I realize there's 2 types of listeners. There should be 1, but unfortunately there's 2.
Yeah.
So for this first type, for you guys who unfortunately are not on the Patreon, you're gonna get this first question, and it's gonna be titillating to the juices, and you're gonna want to hear the rest. But until you pay that little bit of $5 or whatever you want to pay, you're not gonna get the rest. But for those of you who are, on a team, you fucking with the squad, you already know where this is going. You on the right train, then get ready for some excitement, some entertainment. Now, I have here a set of questions. We only have a few of them, but what I'd like to do is have a few of them for the actual game. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to have just 2, just for some shits and giggles. And this is, again, like I'm saying, guys, if you're not on the Patreon, you're not getting the shits and giggles. This is where the fun is. So what we're going to do today, in honor of the big man stepping down, we're going to do a little bit of Vince trivia,
Goodness.
This does not mean okay, so by the way, when I say the big man stepping down and we're going to do Vince trivia, this does not mean, as a disclaimer, this does not mean I'm on Vince's side or anything like that. I watch wrestling. This nigga has been in charge for most of it, so that's how this is going to go. Anyway, let's just go ahead and get this started. Armand, are you ready?
I'm born ready, man.
Channing, are you ready?
Seto.
Let's get this popping. All right, so let's take this real slow. We're gonna start with an easy one, little lob, not a fastball, something like 80 miles per hour, something for you to knock out the park real quick. So what year did Vince take his first stunner?
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna say 1993.
1997.
Damn, Armand, you got it. That was it.
Whoa.
It just sounded like the heat of that Vince Austin, like the prime of their rivalries.
That was probably
literally
notable.
what
It was
it
like
was.
that was the first stunt. He stunned the ball. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. So for those who missed out on the full Patreon segment, you missed us fantasy booking current celebrities that we would make world champion, and our Before We Write segment, which was quite enlightening. We answered some questions about good old Vince McMahon, who we're going to good old again. I'm not taking sides here. He's just Vince McMahon. But before we get into that, we got some promotion to do. The A Show 250 is coming soon. J5 and Meals have powered their way through 250 weekly episodes, no breaks. Very, very exciting time for the entire network, but especially them. So I'm going to give them a big salute for giving us this platform and for doing what they're doing as the best voices in wrestling media. Very excited for everything that they are rolling out for A Show 250. And that includes the official A Show merch, which will be available for pre-order this Friday. You saw it on my Instagram story, the A Show Revenge Tour. We're looking for revenge. The shirts are awesome. Meals did a phenomenal job. They're comfortable as hell too. Like, you know, it's rare. You might get a nice shirt, but it's shitty quality, or you might get a nice quality shirt, but like it don't look good. And we just got both for y'all. So pre-orders are available this Friday. Make sure you tap in. If you're not subscribed to the Patreon, patreon.com/the A Show RNC to get bonus content from the A Show, from the War Report, from us, Three Writers Room, spot callers, access to Invasion Diaries, access to Draft Diaries. I believe Meals got coming soon. He's done a bunch of different diaries. That may be in his bag. Diary of Meals. Forget Diary of Alicia Keys, Diary of Meals. So with that all said, let's jump into this pre-write. Now, I was going to talk about one thing, but we kind of discussed it in the opening of the show. So let's just kind of open up the floor and talk about Vince McMahon retiring, Triple H taking over as the head of creative, and it's an interesting time, man, for WWE. Like, I actually feel very excited. Like, it is a new regime. We've seen Triple H do great work with NXT. We know Bruce Pritchard is still involved. You know, Paul Heyman will be taking over in creative. And it's kind of just like, you know, Vince has booked some incredible shit that we've seen throughout our time as wrestling fans. Vince also has, you know, some areas where it's kind of like, you know, me personally seeing Finn Balor lose all the time. I don't really like that. And I feel like with Triple H, that's not going to be a thing. But yeah, it opens the door for a lot of different things. And we've been talking about it in the Discord a little bit. You know, I think people are going to be expecting immediate change, which isn't realistic. WWE always plans ahead. They plan months, if not a full year in advance. So I think we're really not going to see like tangible crazy change until like after Clash, maybe around where the draft is. But man, you know, it's kind of like we all knew this day would come eventually. A lot of us thought that Vince would never step down and he would just die as the CEO of the company, as the chairman. And, you know, obviously some things have happened and, you know, that kind of forced him to do so. But, you know, I think the WWE is in good hands. You can't forget Nick Khan. Like, Nick Khan is really the brains, the genius behind everything in terms of the expansion of the company and how global they are and the money that they're making. But internally, Triple H running creative, he's a great mind. We've seen, you know, the work Shawn Michaels and him have done with NXT, and I would love to see Shawn get involved in the creative side with the main roster too. But it's a really exciting time. Like, it's like, you know, we really don't know what's gonna happen tonight. You guys are gonna hear this a couple days later, but we got Raw in Madison Square Garden, and they always wow out. We got Roman and Brock set to be there. Ronda Rousey gonna be there. Drew and the Brawling Brutes are backstage. So we don't really know what's gonna happen, but all in all, I'm very excited for this new phase in the WWE. How about y'all?
Yeah, for me, it's like, you know, like I said at the beginning, it's just like I've never known this world. I've never known a world where wrestling is not like the wrestling that I'm watching on a regular basis. That is, the wrestling that I'm watching on a regular basis is not run by Vince McMahon. Like, he's not sitting in that room in the back with the headphones on. Like, I've never known that or whatever, like ever. I don't even think my parents have ever even known that shit. Like, it's, you know, because like even going back to then, like even around the time he took over the company was when they would have been watching and stuff like that. And their big heroes were going on. So like, you know, it's a generational shift for everyone. So like, I think the interesting thing for me will be not saying like the things that are different, but what they keep. Because think about it, like, this thing has been going for, I think he bought the when did he bought the company? He bought the company, I think it was in 72
Almost.
or
I thought
80.
it was 50. I thought it was 50 years, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it might have been 72 or 82, one of those, but like he was the CEO for 40 years at least or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then he took it from where it was just like everyone has this like, you know, our little wrestling thing, like here I'm in Seattle, you're in Missouri, blah blah blah. And he's like, no, this is global, like whatever. Obviously, you know, with some businessman stuff. And shout out to North Carolina, which I'm in right now, whatever. That's where the man is from. He went to East Carolina. Shout out to East Carolina. I know some people at East Carolina is lit or whatever. But he took that business degree and he was like, I'm not about to do what y'all doing. I'm about to do this other thing or whatever. And not only that, some people remarked that the business thing that he did kind of affected the in-ring stuff. So it would be interesting to see someone who spent, they were the in-ring person or whatever. And of course, they spent some time being an executive and doing the control and stuff. It would be interesting to see how they treat it. Because the criticisms have been that the in-ring stuff has had to suffer for, promoting this stuff globally or whatever. But at the same time, there's this like new world that we're in or whatever, where we have all this new technology. So we have someone who was born like way back or whatever. And of course, he's like adopted to all this stuff or whatever. But then we have someone who was like born a little bit later and he's like, he has other voices that are, kind of in his ear and stuff like that, who are creative or whatever. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, for me, like what stays the same. Cause like there was like a standard that was set, like, and it took like kind of like 35 years to like get to that standard. And it's like been running kind of like on autopilot. If you kind of look at it, if you just look at it like objectively from a 30,000 foot view, it's kind of been running on all autopilot for like the last, like, I'd say like maybe 7-8 years or so. Like, I would say like ever since I kind of got back in, I noticed that shift like around that 2016-ish era, like 6 years ago. It's kind of been running on the same thing where we change it for, we have like the same kind of formula and we change things here and there. So I'm interested to see what they stick with, like what stays or whatever. Like certain things I'd like to see stay, for one, like I love to see like how a lot of the wrestlers, like what I like about a lot of the wrestlers these days, and Sami Zayn pointed this out when he was on Stone Cold's podcast, like how like he when he came back from injury, he was watching it from the outside and he was like, there's certain things that wrestlers just do because they just do it. And it's like, well, why do you do it kind of thing. But if you look at it today, like one of the things I like about people is like everyone really has like their own style. So one of the things I'm interested in seeing is like seeing that how everyone wrestles, like how they wrestle. But it would be interesting to see if like Triple H is just like, hey, nigga, more, like be you more. You know what I mean? Like, what if like, Bianca started doing dives or some shit? Like, what if like, you know what I mean? Like, just this random shit or whatever in ring and outside of the ring too. But I'm just interested to see like what stays the same, to be honest. Like, I'm not really interested in what changes. I'm interested in what they keep, because that'll just show you right there what really works and what doesn't work. And honestly, if I'm a business watching the WWE, watching what a company keeps as they change leadership shows me that it's like, okay, regardless of who's running the ship or what this company is, that's a thing that just works with these people in this industry. And I'm going to steal that. That's what I would do, So yeah, that's what I'm interested in. What about you, Channing?
Not to, kind of reiterate what y'all said. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen, so I'm not going to speak too much on what I think will happen. But I do think what will be interesting is to kind of see, because I think there's this kind of thing where it's like when someone is established for a long time, you just create things you hate about them, and that's part of the whole thing. Like part of WWE is that a lot of us kind of hate Vince, and we talk about the fact that we hate Vince, but we all watch WWE to talk about why we hate Vince. And I think it'll be interesting to see what stuff like that happens for Hunter, is because it's like one of those things where you're obviously coming after, Vince, so you're going to have this fanfare of like, oh, it's just something different, something fresh, because we're all thinking about the things we don't like you said, but there were things we do like. And there's also one thing I feel like people also forget because he hasn't been wrestling, especially, is that like one thing Hunter always does is put himself over. Like Triple H loves to put himself over, bro. Like, and so it's like, this is cool until that first time when Triple H decides, it might not be him, but it decides he's gonna have, fucking one of his guys, Adam Cole, take out, Brock Lesnar.
What if he wins the Universal Championship?
This is what I'm saying. Like, y'all forget how quickly y'all forgot what happened with Sting. Like, how quickly y'all forget when Hunter decides he want to go over. He go over, bro. Or one of his boys gonna go over. Kevin Owens will go over. Kevin Owens about to go over, bro. Like, and so I just think it'll be funny whenever that first turn is where people are like, all right, now, Hunter. Now, why has, Io Shirai been the WWE Universal Champion? Like, why is she that? Like, come on. Like,
I don't think we got to worry about him booking himself because he's
no, not himself. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
His guys, though. I just think it'll become a thing where just like there's Vince guys, there will be Hunter guys. And it's not a question of necessarily being like, obviously more, I think, of who we consider NXT Triple H guys. We just like more than like who you consider Vince guys. Like, obviously Roman has turned a corner, but like Theory, kind of annoying, like stuff like that. But I think we will hit a crescendo just because that's the nature of wrestling, where some of these Triple H guys will, just because of the fact that they're being pushed so hard, will start to dislike them. And it'll just be funny to see the narrative turns of like, oh, Hunter always pushing such and such, or like Triple H always trying to do this, and that. And it'll just be funny to see like, what will those things, like, maybe it's not the big buff guys, but maybe it's just like everyone's doing flips, like I'm sick of all the flips, like it'll just be something. It'll be so funny to see what people turn into, like, oh, like they're just, all the entrances are 45 minutes long, it's taking forever, like it'll be something like that.
I promise you it's gonna be so nasty when it turns from why does Finn lose so much to why is Finn winning so much.
That's what I'm saying. So exactly.
Wait, Armand, you here now, my boy? The demon is basically the Fiend. Like, it'll become that, bro. It'll become that so fast. It'll be so funny.
You're like, hold on, bro. Y'all was just mad this nigga lost to Theory like 3 times, and now
I can't be happy, bro.
Now that he's beating fucking Omos, you got mad? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, when Undisputed Era is running Raw for the 4th month in a row, we'll see how much. Like, we'll see what the Twitter's talking about that day, bro.
Them niggas can stay away. They all can stay over there.
You know what I think we'll see way less of, though, is like, you won't see, like, I mean, we've already started to see way less of this because, like, from the outside perspective, like, I've none of us know this nigga. No, none of us know anybody.
Of course.
Or none of that shit or whatever. But from out, like, you could see a lot of shit from the outside. And the one thing that I've seen about, like, I've been watching this shit since 96, 97 or whatever. So the one thing I've seen from the outside looking in is like Vince has grown softer as a person. Like, and also, like, just speaking from my personal journey, you can see when someone has more empathy as a person. Like, Vince
for sure,
a more empathetic person. And the way you can see that is because wrestlers have less shitty angles these days. Like, the angles are like less embarrassing. Like, Vince would be like, that nigga's like, I do not fuck with him at all. But you're gonna keep him on a roster and like make him do this like shitty thing, like, because you don't fuck with him. Like, I don't think you're gonna see that from like Triple H or whatever. Like, I don't think you're gonna see him like shitting on people or whatever. And you've already seen it less, but I think you're gonna see even less than that. And when we get into like the next segment or whatever, I'll talk about this a little bit more. That's gonna open up space for more people to shine in like different ways. So like one thing I like to do is, like, anytime I'm like talking about some stuff or where I think certain things are going to go a certain way, I like to explain it to y'all like a business sense. So for anybody who's listening to this, here's some game for you right now. And these days, like, where everything is, like, certain things are like important or whatever, right? So like one of the most important things is like data and stuff like that. But like one of the hugest things these days, and it's always been a huge thing, is like audiences and whatnot, and what you can do with those audiences. And what we found in like almost every one of you probably knows this, because if you watch wrestling, you probably play video games. When you're playing a video game, you ever notice how like you have to spend like $2.99 and like $3.99 and like $4.99 to get like these little things here and there? I think things that we're going to see, like, now that like Paul's there or whatever, when you can do more with your creative, that means you can also do more with your business.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
A little later. So like, as more people get shots, those are also more things that can be
more toys.
Yeah, exactly.
More choice.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so, like,
I got you.
Because less people will be shitted on, I think we'll also see like higher profits and like things like that. That's just like a business sense kind of thing, whatever, whatever. But at the same time, that means like when you guys are like, I see some people saying like, oh, my fave isn't getting a shot, or like so-and-so and blah, blah, blah. Like, you'll see like, more people, like, even if they're not getting a shot, you'll feel like they're getting their just due. I think that is what we'll see a little bit more. More. I'm not saying it's going to be like, oh, everything, we're not going to step into a utopia, because nothing can be utopia, but you're going to see a little bit more of that, I think.
Yeah,
Probably more dick jokes too. Hunter loves.
Oh
dick
my
jokes.
gosh, yes,
He loves dick jokes.
it.
You watch any old segment, especially DX era.
Oh,
Boy
God.
loves to work in a dick joke. So just prepare for that too.
Do either of you feel super strongly about your pre-write, or we cool jumping into the free write section?
No, I was just gonna talk shit about Twitter, basically.
Real quick, I just want to say, like, I just want to say on that note or whatever is like, you can, here's what I'll say. Disney realized that, the Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast or whatever, like they're big ones or whatever. What they realized was not only could we sell those things in different forms, the big things, we could take these little things and make huge things out of them. Think about how many Star Wars series there are. Like there's one, I'm a Star Wars nerd, like fan. There's a series called Andor coming out and stuff like that. I don't know how much I really like care about it, but like the thing about it is Disney realized, hey, like we can take all these little pieces and make something huge out of them, and people really flock to them or whatever. So like you can take your little pieces and make a lot of them. So like what I'm saying is, out of all these characters that we have in the WWE, all these superstars, I think we're going to see a lot more character work from them, and I would love to see a lot more character work. I would love to see a lot of character work from every single body who's on the roster. Because here's one thing that I noticed from watching SmackDown and Raw from these last couple of weeks, and I had to watch them I had to binge watch them because I had missed a couple or whatever. So that means I got to notice these patterns as they were. I watched it all in one show essentially. So I saw this general pattern. There's lulls in the show, and those lulls,
nasty lulls,
long, and they're fucking massive.
Nasty lulls.
They wouldn't be as massive if every single character had like an interesting thing, and they don't need to be interesting to every part of the audience. They just need to be interesting for someone. The problem is like when you see certain things, it's like that's not interesting to anybody. Like, why are we doing that? So like when I talk about that character work, I think that's what like where we need to go. Like if WWE like really wants to take it to another level, y'all did one bill. Y'all boys could do two bill if y'all want to. It's just a matter if y'all want to. So that's how I feel.
I think the perfect example of what you just described was that women's 6-man tag last week. It was like Asuka, Alexa, and
just more people.
Asuka, Alexa.
Is it Bianca?
Asuka, Alexa, and what's
Asuka, Alexa.
Shit.
I forget. Dana Brooke versus Doudrop, Nikki Ash, and was it Becky? I think Becky was in the match. Yeah. It was a clear talent gap. Becky, Asuka, and then you go like Alexa, Doudrop, Nikki, and then Dana Brooke. And it unfolded into a 24/7 title match, which like those are kind of wacky, kind of fun. Or maybe Tamina was in the match because Tamina ended up getting a title reign for a little bit. But yeah, it was just like y'all can do more with these people. Like I think Nikki Ash's hero gimmick, especially as a heel, that needs to be cooked. I'm not really with it anymore. I think Doudrop needs a little more visibility, a little more prominence in her character. She's awesome. Like she's absolutely awesome. Alexa's kind of circling the wagon right now. Asuka, this is like, it's interesting. I was thinking about it. This is like the least interesting Asuka has ever been. Like she was in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Her and Becky were fighting over the title shot, but like this is the first time where like Asuka isn't the focal point of the women's division, or one of the focal points of the women's division. So I'm really interested in what they end up doing with her. I don't know if her and Bianca have had a singles match for the title. I feel like that's an obvious place you can go. The only thing is,
I think in NXT, maybe Bianca faced Asuka while she was champ.
But the only thing is like they're both babyface right now, and like, they don't really do women on women babyface matches. Like it's usually a clear heel and a clear face. But yeah, I'm interested in seeing what Asuka does, and I think Triple H stepping in is what could ultimately do that. Let's jump into these free rights though. Cece, I want to ask you, how long is Liv holding this SmackDown Women's title?
Bro, not long. And honestly, what's funny is the ironic thing is like, people think like, people have this like image of like, Vince is like this evil guy or whatever. And I don't know the nigga, so it is what it is or whatever. And like, Triple H being like lighter than him or whatever. But the thing is just like, I've been watching Triple H since that month. Like I literally, because I started watching over again, like WWE since he came in or whatever. One thing about Triple H is a guy who feels like, like he has this thing where like if he knows there's something there, there's something there, and if he doesn't, that motherfucker does not spend time on it. Like even if it
That's
like
true.
is the thing to like get to another thing, like the way he'll get out of it is he'll like, oh, but what if like so and so turns on blah blah blah. You know what I mean? He'll figure out.
Yeah.
He'll find a creative way to get out of that to get to the next thing before he'll spend time on it. So like you add that to the fact that on like honestly, like I said, I've been watching, the SmackDowns and Raw from the last like at least I think it's 3 weeks I had to watch like all in one go or whatever. The one thing that I've noticed, and I've noticed this about Liv since about 2 years ago, and she's improved, but she just hasn't gotten there yet. Dude, her timing and her ability to make the move happen and like go off without a hitch, it's not consistent. It just isn't or whatever. And you cannot be a champion if I don't feel like I can put you in that ring or whatever. And when you are doing your like run of the mill, this is my combo offense, like her run of the mill combo offense. I saw her mess up the other day when she went up. I think it was on Natalia. She went for that thing where she puts the arm behind her back and she like falls on her back and like
I hate that.
catapults you into the couch. First of all, it takes 20 seconds to set up or whatever, and then you do the thing just for them to hit the corner. It's like just whip them to the corner then. Like, but she can't because she doesn't have the power. So it's like one, like, but at the same, like, so no, I think her championship term is short lived. At the same time, no pun intended. No pun intended. The boy just come up with bars.
I see what you did there.
Thinking that's just but it's short lived or whatever. But at the same time, what I see is I see her investing more time and coming back and being better is what I see. I think Triple H is going to purposely take it away from her so that she tries to get it back sooner, like tries to go harder. And I think that's what she needs. That's what I would do. Shit.
2 quick things. You really buried the lead because you know how long her lane's gonna last until Charlotte Flair's plane lands. Yeah. That's what her when Charlotte decides she want that title back.
Oh,
that's when it's gonna get over.
or if they put Bayley on SmackDown.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Triple H guys. You want to talk about Triple H people? Charlotte Flair and Bayley. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, it'll be a thing of like, yeah, Liv's great now, but then once Triple H's people come back, then we'll see what you're talking about. And then also, like you said, she's a chaser. Like, she's a classic baby face. The chase is always better. It's like a Biggie, a Kofi, like any of those under. The win is always the best part of the run. Like, that's how it is. Yeah. And then the climb back up is always more interesting. So perfect. Yeah, if it's a Charlotte, knock her off, take a couple months, she comes back, and that build versus Charlotte will be just as good. Like, that's really what Liv is like. Her, like, that's what she's best at. And then you got to think about who else is on the roster.
Yeah. Like, I'll give her credit. Her promos have gotten better too. Like, that's just one thing that I definitely want to give her credit for is her promos have gotten better. But she pulled the whole passion thing on Ronda. It's like that's not moving me. Like, you've got to have more than passion as your character. I still don't know what Liv's character is. Like,
oh my God,
she's just a cute, spunky blonde who people really like.
No, that's mainly because her character is
she's really hot.
I'm here, guys. I really had this dream, and her character is that the fans support me. That's her whole ass character.
She's like pretty much Nikki Asher without a costume. Like,
you know what would be dope? I need Liv to go heel. Liv need to go heel, bro.
She started as a heel. The Riot Squad and all that stuff was heel work, and they just never. That's when they just never fully pulled the trigger on.
I'm so sorry. I know he retired, so I know we not being as creepy anymore or whatever, and like, and I'm just. This is this is an objective statement of what I'm saying. Like, 100%, I feel like gets over more and is a more interesting character when she's kind of playing not to say that this is her whole deal, but a part of her deal. When a part of her deal is her sex appeal or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And her sex appeal is way higher when she's a heel. It's not even close.
I mean, yeah, she was in the whole fake lesbian thing with Rhea. Like, she obviously plays into that sometimes too. It's not like you're just. I mean, obviously, like you said, you don't want to just objectify her, but part of that is like that's clearly either she wrote it or someone wrote it that they were like fake together for like a month.
That shit worked. It worked on me.
And that's the thing. And it's not one of those things where you're just like, you're doing this because it's just like, oh, it's horny and horny is easy. That's not what it is. The thing is like certain characteristics make a person interesting. We have Beyonce and we have Rihanna. both, like, you know, you'll hear like a whole bunch of crazy stuff about both of them. Like, you can find tweets about both of them, whatever. But if you look at who the character is or whatever, Rihanna's character is that she's sultry, and like that's like that part of her is like played up a little bit more, whereas Beyonce, like if I was to compare them, I would say like Beyonce is more of a Bianca where she's like, I'm the EST of the thing, like I'm so good at this shit or whatever. Whereas like, you know, Rihanna's more of like your Stacey Keeler's, blah blah. Like
I would say Mandy Rose. I would say Mandy Rose and
Mandy Rose, right now, actually,
where it's like I'm hot, but I could also wrestle. But like part of it is that I'm also hot. Like that's part of Toxic Attraction's whole thing.
Actually, you know what? Let's talk about that. Mandy Rose is the perfect example of where Liv can draw some inspiration from, because Mandy Rose, like while she sells that I'm the hot girl or whatever, she says like it's like in a high school movie or whatever. Like if you look at the high school movies, the hot girl like wasn't just the hot girl, she was also the captain of the cheerleading squad or like this other thing, you know, some what I mean?
Secret
like,
talent,
exactly. Like there was like, no, it's like I'm a bad bitch and I'm a boss bitch at the same time. Like there's these two things. So like I think Liv needs to discover like where she can get more of that. Like Becky found her thing, and like she found out that she shared the same things as like Stone Cold, where it's just like, nah, nigga, I'm out here, I'm a badass. I'm just, I'm that nigga. Like everybody found their thing. I don't think Liv's found her thing yet. And I think, to be honest, like I don't like rewarding her before she's found her thing. Now, will rewarding her and then taking away like to make sure that she's still around or whatever, like, you know, kind of help her, I don't know. But honestly, I think you take that shit away from her very soon so that she like kind of has time to look back and be like, damn, bro, I was only like champ for like 2 months, and like have a fire lit up under her. So she
needs confidence. That's what it is. I think you can win a championship match, but to be a champion, you have to, like you said, kind of earn that confidence, and that's going to take time for different people. I feel like
that's true. Yeah,
like it's interesting. She reminds me a lot of like what we've said about Ricochet, where like you want to support him. Ricochet's amazing in ring. He can't talk. Liv is the opposite. She can talk a little bit in the ring. She's improving, but she's still not there. And honestly, like her winning it with Money in the Bank as a babyface made the moment amazing. But I also think it maybe didn't do her that much service in terms of her character, in terms of her believability. Like she still doesn't really seem sure of herself. So beating Ronda,
the babyface who won the championship by taking advantage of someone's injury.
Yeah, like it's a really weird, and like people have done that. Big E did it to Bobby. CM Punk did it with the 2 times he cashed in. Like that's typically how it goes. It's like an injury angle. But I think for Liv, you know, we saw her in the feud with Becky. She was getting washed on the mic. The matches were really good. But I think that giving her that kind of illegitimate victory when we're still not exactly sure of her and she still doesn't seem sure of herself, it like people are going to look at that reign kind of with an asterisk. Like, and she's got to go right back and face Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam. Like, if I was doing FanDuel odds, I would probably bet on Ronda. Like, truthfully, the only way I see Ronda losing is Bailey comes or Charlotte comes and like interrupts. So, and just Charlotte and Ronda got to run it back. So it'll probably be Charlotte. That's a big show. It'll be perfect time to reintroduce her. But yeah, I don't know. Like Liv's believability is probably like the toughest thing for me.
It's a good point you made, and I we can move off this, but like it's kind of like the difference between Big E and Kofi Mania. Whereas there's something about getting it out in a clean victory in a straight up match, or like a Daniel Bryan where there's no like heist, there's no trickery. It's like, no, I won. You knew I was facing you, and I overcame the odds. That pop is always like more like that, like you said, like the earned pop, whereas the other one's more so just like the excitement of like, oh, someone cashed in. But like, even you think about her cashing, she almost tapped out. Like when I thought she was gonna tap out to that ankle lock, I was like, y'all not doing
honestly,
this.
If she would have, I would have been like, yeah, I believe that. I believe her character would have.
It was very believable, 100%.
And I think this whole scenario isn't unique to Liv, because I can't think of a strong title reign that came off of winning Money in the Bank. Like Bailey lost it to Charlotte like a couple months after she cashed in, and then she turned heel. But like, there's never really been a strong Money in the Bank holder. Like Miz held it for a while and like won a lot, but it was through underhanded stuff. Like we've never really gotten someone win the title. Seth was sleazy too. Yeah, there's really been no like strong champion after getting it from Money in the Bank. So I think like that's maybe like one of the only downfalls. And we kind of understand like that's how it goes. Like you win it off of this like 1 in a million opportunity, and you know it's exciting for you, but like it's ultimately leading to more. Like that's put you in that echelon, and now you have to sink or swim at this point. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens with Liv. Chan, for you, Riddle, man, Riddle has emerged as one of the top baby faces in WWE. He's currently, kind of rolling solo after Randy Orton's injury, and he's got an upcoming match with Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. What do you do with Riddle after that SummerSlam match?
I think with Riddle, in short, what he should do is he should be in a feud with the Judgment Day until Randy Orton comes back and saves him. I think the thing with Riddle is he kind of reached that echelon where, and this is part of the problem, like we talked about last episode with the 2 undisputed titles. Like he's a main event guy, and there's just no main event picture right now because it's all Roman and Brock. And so you're having to do these holding pattern stuff with him, Seth, Kevin, guys like that. And so I think another holding pattern thing, which would be honestly interesting, it would be, Finn and him kind of having the same angle of like, you're a new guy, maybe you want to come join us, you were with Randy, but see how that got you. Then you have, them beat up on him, have some cool matches with him and Finn, him and Damian, whatever. Then you can have the blow off tag of, Finn and Damian versus Randy and Riddle. Randy comes back, that's a massive pop, whatever. I just think you basically got to keep him middling hot until you can heat him back up again, because like you saw with that Roman match, like he has what the prerequisites is really like. We need the moment in the storyline to match that. And so I think you just kind of keep him holding until you find out what you're going to do with the 2 titles, find out what you're going to do with Cody and everything and all that kind of stuff. And then, like you said, line that up. Because, he's done everything you could check off. It's just like he can't be U.S. champion again against Bobby. Like we basically just did that, and so you don't want to put him in another tag team because he was just in a fire tag team. So you really have to keep him just dealing with people. And then Finn is main event adjacent enough where that's legitimate, even if he loses to Finn or whatever. So I think that's personally, going through the roster is what I would have him do.
Yeah, he's kind of been in the same position like Drew was for a while. And like, we
100%.
see Drew is, competing in a number 1 contenders match with Sheamus. He'll likely win, face Roman at Clash. But like, Roman is the dual champion, but he's on SmackDown, so Drew can at least interact with him. Like Roman's barely on Raw, so Riddle really has the only reason he got that opportunity was because him and Randy were fucking around with the Usos, jumping shows. But now he's back on Raw chilling, and there's nothing for him, which sucks. For me, who the hell is going to dethrone Gunther? So I know they've been running Drew, or say tease Drew Gunther at a house show recently. I wouldn't. Intercontinental title for Drew would feel like a demotion. And it's not actually a demotion. Like it's good to have a strong mid-card champion, but I don't think that's the direction they go.
I tell you.
Honestly, I can see a scenario where the Brawling Brutes come together and just jump Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. And maybe that's in service of Butch. Maybe Butch is the Intercontinental champion.
Was mine. That was my pick.
Kind of similar to the Artist Collective when like they did that 3-on-1 match against Braun and Sammy ended up winning the title. Like similar to that, where you have like the small guy as the champion, he's got 2 heavies. Like Sheamus, I have a lot of praise for Sheamus. He's a good hand. You can insert him into anything. He gives you good matches. He's good on the mic. Ridge, he's still figuring it out. But I think you make Butch the Intercontinental champion. He's just a wild dude. Like he literally acts like a dog. Like I don't know. I feel like
you've seen the match too. You have proof of concept. They bang. Like they have a match that bangs.
Real quick. For all the niggas who loved Pete Dunne in NXT and NXT 2.0 and then got mad when he was going to be Butch in WWE, how do you feel now? How do you feel? Because you're wrong like a motherfucker. This nigga is one of the most interesting things about SmackDown.
I will say, though, get him out these trousers. He doesn't need to wrestle in pants. I don't understand this obsession with having people wrestling in clothes. Like, stop it. But you know what? You know what's gonna happen, Armand? I've already seen the vision. You know who's gonna dethrone Gunther?
Who?
Madcap Moss. It's happening.
Potentially.
Honestly, I don't know if he's a Triple H guy. That's to be #TBD. But if he is, that's who they've set up to do it. Like it would be a longer feud, I would think, but they just have built him up to be this guy, and it's like, well, he has to do something. Like he has to face, and he's not going to be like. I think the issue with Drew is that you're not going to have Drew as the Intercontinental Champion. Like you're just not going to keep him that, like because it's like you said, the matches with Roman, and so you need somebody who you built up, but also is not too big for the spotlight. And Madcap Moss and the Pain Black Trunks is just it screams Intercontinental Championship match at TLC. That's what it screams to. In December, that's what that screams to me.
I could see it. I would like it. I fuck with Madcap. Let's jump into our rewrite. Today we are talking about a 24-year-old bodybuilder from Atlanta, Georgia. He placed first in the NPC Georgia Bodybuilding Competition Championship at 17. Made his wrestling debut in 2016, defeating AR Fox at a WMA4 event for the WMA4 Heavyweight Championship. He moved on to Progress, where he debuted at a Progress Evolve joint show and lost to Keith Lee in a fatal four-way. This man has also wrestled in the Crash Lucha Libre, the World Wrestling Network, Consejo Mundial de Lucha Libre, Full Impact Pro, Firestar Pro Wrestling, Mucha Lucha Atlanta, National Championship Wrestling, Peach State Wrestling Alliance, and Extreme Wrestling Alliance. He debuted on NXT in 2019, losing an open challenge to Roderick Strong for the NXT North American Championship. At the end of 2019, he was named number 80 on the Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 500 singles wrestlers list. He got his first NXT victory in 2020, defeating Joaquin Wilde. He was then called up to the main roster in March 2020 to stand alongside Zelina Vega. He was slotted into the WrestleMania 36 Raw Tag Team Championship match alongside Angel Garza after Andrade had to pull out, which they lost that title match. After he was eventually jumped out of the faction. Some people call them Zelina's Angels. They never really had an official name. He was jumped out of the faction by Andrade and Garza, and then ended up joining Seth Rollins and Murphy in their faction that same night. After the June 22nd episode of Raw, he disappeared for a while. We know he was dealing with some allegations. He was then sent back down to NXT in August 2020, and he took a lot of L's. He was that guy who was he's the talent that you just put in a match, like you're going to lose in service of someone else. He then joined the Way at War Games 2020 and helped Johnny Gargano win the North American title for a record third time, and he was named the NXT Year-End Future Star Award in 2020. Now, in 2021, he was called up again to Raw, got drafted, took on a selfie gimmick, competed on the Raw Men's Survivor Series team, where he was the second to last person eliminated before Seth Rollins won as the sole survivor. At the event, it was revealed that he stole Cleopatra's egg, and he was awarded a title shot the very next night for doing so. Little moving on, he competed in the Elimination Chamber for the WWE title and had a classic moment where Brock Lesnar F5'd him off the top of the chamber pod. Then he faced Brock again for the WWE title at a MSG house show that I attended, got his ass whooped again. WrestleMania, he had his second WrestleMania match, faced Pat McAfee and lost, and then helped Vince McMahon defeat Pat McAfee before Stone Cold Steve Austin came out and stunned everyone. He then won the U.S. title from Finn Balor in April, becoming the youngest United States champion of all time. Lost it to Bobby Lashley at Money in the Bank. And in that very same night, he won the Money in the Bank briefcase. We're talking about none other than formerly known as Austin Theory. He just goes by a mononym now, Theory.
Another Vince thing. Hopefully that's gone.
I mean, my feelings before we get into our rewrites. I like Theory when he first got called up. He's got a great look. I think he's good in ring. His finisher could use some work. When he came up with the selfie gimmick, it was fun for like the first couple of weeks. Then it got very tired. He's not holding the phone no more. I don't know if y'all noticed. He's not doing that shit no more. And it's great. He's so much more bearable now that he's doing it. I like that he's taking on this like cocky heel, asshole heel kind of thing. Like you all love me, but you act like you don't like me type of thing. And like they're really laying it on thick with this whole Money in the Bank promo, like him cashing in at SummerSlam. Like on the one hand, I could see them going all the way and doing it. On the other hand, I could see a situation where he thinks he's got easy pickings on Brock or Roman after their match, and they whoop his ass and he loses the briefcase. I think that would be perfect, kind of a la when it happened to Corbin. But I think Theory is in a better position than Corbin was back then as the lone wolf with hair. But yeah, I think he's got potential. There's some things I don't like, and he's definitely very forced on us. Like people complained about like Drew McIntyre being forced on us as the WWE champion. I personally love that we had a very present WWE champion, but Theory is being forced on us more than like anyone ever was. Like I'm talking like Ryback back in the day. I'm talking Sheamus when he beat John Cena for the WWE title. Like Theory is being forced
Roman
on
never
us.
got this treatment, bro.
Yeah, like Roman was forced on us, but Roman lost a lot. And Theory loses a lot, but Theory ends up winning in the end, kind of like how Miz ends up winning in the end after losing a lot. So we're at a really interesting place with Theory, but I want to ask you guys, how would you rewrite Theory's WWE career?
I'll start because mine's like short and simple. And
I feel like you say that every rewrite.
I do. No, because like, all right. So, but for this one, it was interesting because like where I have him I had like, all right, I'll explain it. All right. So here's the thing, right? Here's my rewrite for theory or whatever, right? I'm just actually, let me preface this. No, I'm gonna say that shit for the end. All right. Okay, here's how we're gonna go. All right. This is Austin theory. Fuck theory. Austin theory, right? Everything stays the same up until, you know, he goes to the way and everything, right? He goes to the way, and instead of, you know, everything going with the way that it did, like, you know, throughout, right? Everything it going the top of like 2021 or whatever, that's where we're gonna start making things go crazy or whatever. But even leading up to that, we're gonna go crazy, right? So like, you know, he joins the way, and I think he's there for, I think it's like the last quarter or like last half of like 2020 or something like that. And then so during that time, what we're gonna do is like he's gonna be a part of it. But what he's going to do is he's going to be super instrumental in like helping things get done. And then the other members are like going to notice that. And then he's going to notice that they're going to notice that. And then he's going to be like, so why is Johnny the leader? You know, like, so this is going to be like the start of him, like kind of like, you know, being this, the difference between being a guy on the roster and like part of something to being like his own thing. And like he starts with like Johnny Gargano. And here's the reason why I want to do this. Johnny Gargano is like, if you want to see if someone can wrestle and tell a story, he's a great person to have them go up against, because Johnny Gargano can do that. Like he's really good at that or whatever. He just happens to be really small, and wants to do what he wants to do. So, you know, he's not going to be in the main roster. But for theory, that would be great, because, you know, it's an opportunity for him to spar with someone who's good on the mic or whatever, spar with someone who's good in the ring or whatever, like telling that overall story or whatever. So it'd be a time for that to happen. So like how it happens is, you know, he's part of the way, but like slowly and surely, like people who are a part of the way are like seeing theory, you know, over time is like, you know, he's climbing up the ranks or whatever. And they're starting to see him in a way that Johnny doesn't want him to see him. But theory isn't like pushing it or whatever. He's not saying like, you know, he's not the one saying like, why is Johnny the leader? It's just like one of those things where you watch it, that's like how it goes, right? So then from there, what we get is we get like, you know, like a whole Johnny Gargano and like theory match and like a blow up or whatever. And like theory ends up winning the match. And this is like late 2020 or whatever, right? Theory ends up winning a match or whatever. But, you know, when he wins the match, like the way, like, you know, just destroys him or whatever. And it's an injury angle, right? So like they beat him up to the point where he gets injured. You know, he's off NXT for like a little while, like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. And, you know, that's the end of him. Next thing you know, January 2021, we're at the World Rumble. Guess who's showing up at number 21? And for those of you who remember the January 2021 Royal Rumble, especially for those of you who watch WWE regularly and seem to not like this guy, him showing up at number 21 works for you really well, because that means he replaces Dominic Mysterio. So I'm already getting thumbs up, people. Awesome. So he replaces Dominic Mysterio. We're just like, oh, so like, you know, obviously for the general fan base, they're just like, this is their introduction to this guy. They're like, you know, and then the commentators are explaining, blah, blah, blah. He goes in, this motherfucker puts on a show in the ring. Like, you know, he's doing all the stuff that he can normally do. So you're like, who is this guy, right? And then he goes to SmackDown instead of going to Raw. That's my big change. Like, I don't put him on Raw. I put him on SmackDown, because I think that's the important thing to do. Like, that's my main thing. Like, this is why my rewrite is like not that long. It has less to do about what actually happens with him and more to do with where he is. Is Vince, you know, and company or whoever else, you know, sees him as who he is, are they kind of correct in like seeing him as like this talent who has this potential? I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. You know, right? Do we put him in a position to like be this person that we have to watch for like 15 minutes at a time whenever he's on screen or whatever? No, we don't do that. So what we do is we essentially kind of like where Madcap Moss is right now. That's where we start to plug him in. We just plug him in right there. Like, you know, I think they have a thing about it in I think it's like New Japan, where like the rookies essentially like wear this like kind of gear. I've seen like Madcap Moss, like he's just basically in this like plain clothes, like this plain ass gear or whatever. You can see like he's a rookie, hasn't figured it out yet. But Austin Theory's angle is like he's just very eager. So like he's babyface, right? He's very eager. He knows he's talented, but at the same time, he's not trying to be cocky or whatever. And he's purposely not trying to do that. And over time, what we see is him telling us about that, right? So how he starts is he goes like, you know, he walks up to Jinder Mahal and he's like, "Hey, you've been a world champion or whatever. Can I get some advice or whatever, blah, blah, blah." And, you know, Jinder disrespects him, turns into a match or whatever. Theory bodies this nigga or whatever. And that kind of goes on or whatever. Like he starts, you know, talking to these people backstage, trying to get advice. That's his angle. Like he's just an up and coming. He's so thirsty for knowledge and he just wants to be the best or whatever, but he's like humble or whatever, right? So, you know, we're seeing it from this angle, kind of where like a lot of wrestlers are, where to like clearly like they're the humble and they like want to be good or whatever. But the angle that for him that I'm writing is that like, you know, he's this pure kid. Like he just really, it's like watching a naive kid walk in and being like, "Oh my gosh, like you're here. Like, I know I'm good, but like, I want to be this, I want to be that, blah, blah." And I'm asking, like, he's genuinely asking people questions and they're just shitting on him. And the whole point of this is like, this is long form storytelling. Every time, like he's asking these people stuff and he goes out and sometimes he beats them. Sometimes like, you know, they're all heels. Like sometimes they win and like, maybe it's underhanded or like, maybe it's like straight up will win or whatever. Right. The whole time, like he's realizing like, wait a second, like I'm having these matches with people. I haven't had a title match yet or whatever. I haven't even had a titles contenders match yet or whatever, right? I'm not included on these pay-per-views or whatever, blah, blah. So like over time, like he develops into a heel and it's earned. Like it's an earned heel, like saying like I came in or whatever. And then like he gets to this point or whatever. And this is around like Money in the Bank, like right before Money in the Bank 2021. Like, so he's working this for a few months around the Bank Money 2021 or whatever, and he doesn't get into Money in the Bank, right? That's another thing too. Like he has a match for it and he doesn't get into it, and then you don't see him for a little while. So when he comes back, he has this whole angle where he's like in front of the camera, right? And essentially, like what you see now or whatever, I want to take to like a whole ass another level, like because he's not even what I think he can do, he's not doing. First of all, he shows up, he's on camera, he's chilling in a hot tub with some hoes, off rip. Like off rip. This is where we going, like off rip.
Baddies.
And he just starts this promo with, you know, and then like he like, and that's his thing. Like he starts his promo off with this phrase, you know, or whatever. And then like what he does is he says, you know, and he goes over the facts or whatever, right? He says such and such happened, blah, 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 blah. I've been this, I've been that. But here's where I want to go or whatever, X, Y, and Z. So he does that or whatever. And this is like post Money in the Bank or whatever, 2021. And he comes out like he's like a heel or whatever, like essentially like he's a heel. And then he goes back after all those guys who like originally like weren't after him. And this is where like it kind of gets weird because like you don't really see like heel going after heel or whatever, but this is how like you really get Theory over like as that nigga. Like he's a heel going after heels. Like when have you really like ever seen that? And he's burying these niggas. Not only that, like he's coming back with new moves or whatever. He's putting these niggas in the dirt or whatever on top of that. And then like guys start forming around him or whatever. Like he starts picking up people or whatever, like slowly but surely or whatever. And then he like forms his own thing. And then the next thing he decides is like, oh, I want that Intercontinental Championship or whatever. And then he starts going after title after title after title. So like the way I have him going is like, it's a general thing or whatever, but essentially it's like he comes in as babyface. He gets an earned like, hey, I've been trying to go after these heels after a whole time, like whatever, like I've been trying to like do it the right way, whatever. And then he just comes out, he flips and he's like the ultimate asshole. Like what you see right now, nah, fuck that. Like this, what you see right now is like babyface compared to where I want to take him. Like he would be like walking in or whatever, seeing Kevin Owens having like a cup of water or whatever, like drinking like in the backstage or whatever, and just flipping that shit out of his hand. I'm talking about like that level, like being like, I know I'm that nigga.
That would be funny.
The thing is like the thing about Theory right now is he part of the reason why he's annoying is because he has been put in our face. But if you listen to him, watch him and shit like that, it's very clear why he's been put in our face. He has the potential or whatever. It's just that he hasn't really gone there. So what I want to do is I want to take him to the extreme to where he's just like complete, like legit. And we've never seen an asshole like this ever before or whatever, so that it's completely earned like hate or whatever. And then for the rest of his career, he can always play off of that. It's the same way that Edge can always run back to like, hey, I'm the rated R superstar and I'm the sneaky maniacal, blah, 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 blah. It's the setup for that. So if he wants to become a babyface, he can like later on. But yeah, so like my thing is like, and here's why I set that up is because I think a lot of y'all niggas are wrong about Theory. Theory is the future of WWE. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I am so sorry.
Undeniable.
I am so sorry. But like everything you like about your favorite wrestlers, this nigga like has a lot of that down, and he's only 24 or whatever. At 28, do you know what this nigga is going to be doing? It's going to be stupid. So like that's how I got my rewrite. But that's my rewrite right there.
I like it. Mine is, it's giving slight attitude era, ruthless aggression era type rewrite. So and everything happens up to when he joins the Way. He's in the way for a while. Like in real life, he was in that faction for a while.
Oh yeah.
So he's working with the Way. He's helping Gargano keep his North American title, interacting with Candice LeRae, blah blah blah. But even that, it was good, but it kind of plateaued at a certain point. So kind of similar to CC's, where like these things start happening for Theory. Like all of a sudden Theory gets a fucking NXT World Championship match, or he's just getting these big matches. He's getting these different things. And Johnny and Candice and Indy are kind of like, Theory, like, or Austin, like, how are you getting these opportunities? What's going on? And Gargano ends up losing his North American title to somebody. And then Austin Theory gets a chance. Like Gargano doesn't even get a rematch. Like Theory gets the match that Gargano is supposed to get. So Johnny gets pissed eventually. He's like, "What's going on with you, Austin?" And Austin's kind of like sly about it. Like, I don't know. Like I'm too like, you know, they just put me in these positions. So there's like William Regal left NXT after a certain point. So there's no authority figure. I'm gonna have Shawn Michaels as an on-screen authority figure. So one day Gargano storms into Shawn Michaels' office. He's like, "What's going on? I lost my title. I didn't get a rematch. Theory got my rematch. Theory's getting that. Theory's getting this. Like, why do you love this guy so much?" And Shawn is like, "It's not me pulling the strings." And he points behind Gargano, and Gargano turns around. It's Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon appears on NXT television because he's that invested in Theory. So Gargano sees that. He's like, "Oh, wow." And like, you know, Johnny's short too. So he's looking up at Vince. He's like, oh my God. And so Vince is like, if you got a problem with it, you know, like you could just fight Theory yourself. So Johnny and Theory have a series of matches. Gargano ends up winning the series, but usually that's what they do at NXT. You lose because you're about to get moved to the main roster. Austin Theory gets moved to the main roster, drafted to Raw, immediately gets the whole Mr. McMahon protege thing. But it's a slow build to it. Like kind of similar to how he was sitting in Vince's office, just talking with him and stuff like that. So he's just talking to Vince, like getting game from him. And this is like fall of 2021. So it starts to ramp up. Vince puts him on the Survivor Series team. And then Royal Rumble comes. And so in real life, Theory entered at number 3, lasted 22 minutes, gets eliminated by AJ Styles. Theory is going to last up until, I believe it was the number 28 entrant in the 2022 Royal Rumble. None other than Vince's most hated child, Shane McMahon.
I was about to say.
Shane McMahon comes out and he's locked in on Theory because he's like, my dad loves you. Why is my dad giving you so many things he didn't give me? So Shane goes in, him and Theory get into it. They both eliminate each other. They fall out at the same time. They get into a brawl. That's it. Next night on Raw, Shane McMahon comes out and he's like, "Vince, I demand you come to the ring and tell me what's going on. Like you're my father. You don't love me." And like Shane is like 50, so it's a little weird. So like Shane is seeing this like young guy come in and like take his dad's love from him. So Vince comes out. He's like, "You know, Shane, you know, I understand you and I have had a tumultuous relationship, but I just really love this kid. And actually, I want to let you know, like, I'm working on formally adopting him so I can give him."
Stop.
Yeah, I'm working on formally adopting him so I can give him the money, like what you're going to get when I die. I want to give that to Theory. And Shane is like, "You can't just do this. Like, well, we have to settle this in a match." So Vince books Shane versus Theory for the right to Shane's birthright for WrestleMania 38. Now, here's another wrinkle. If you remember, Vince went on Pat McAfee's show. And Vince is like, "Pat, you're gonna get a WrestleMania match." And while Vince is on the show, everything's cool with him and Pat. Theory runs in and jumps Pat McAfee. So Pat McAfee on Friday Night SmackDown comes out. He demands Vince comes out. And then Pat McAfee is talking to Vince. He's like, how could you do that? And Vince is like, I gave you a WrestleMania match. What do you mean? I don't know who your opponent is yet, but you're gonna fight at WrestleMania. Theory comes out. Vince and Theory jump Pat McAfee. Shane comes out, helps Pat McAfee. Vince is like, you know what? How dare you get involved in my family business? So we're going to up the ante with this whole birthright match. It's going to be it's going to be Shane McMahon and Pat McAfee versus me and Austin Theory. If Shane's team wins, Shane gets his birthright. If my team wins, Theory gets Shane's birthright and Pat McAfee is fired. So they run this tag team match at WrestleMania. Pat McAfee and Shane McMahon end up winning. Shane keeps his birthright. Vince still formally goes through with the whole adoption. Shane eventually leaves TV because if you remember, Shane did horrible booking the whole Royal Rumble match. So Vince just ends up firing Shane. So Shane is going like the night after WrestleMania, he's like, Shane, you're fired. You're never coming back to this company again. Pat McAfee, I'm gonna deal with you later. And that plays into like Corbin beating up Pat, like while Pat's behind the table. So Vince enlists Corbin's help to handle Pat McAfee on SmackDown since Vince is only shown up on Raw. And then, everything else continues. Theory ends up getting the U.S. title, losing it, gets Money in the Bank. And, of course, with Vince and with Theory's trajectory, Roman and Brock end up going to they both can't answer the count of 10. And they're both just laying there. And God. And then Vince comes out. Vince is like, the night is not over. Theory runs down with the briefcase, similar to when Edge did it in 2006, New Year's Revolution. The Usos come out, but Baron Corbin comes and handles them. He gets them out of the paint, and Theory cashes in on Roman Reigns. And then Roman turns babyface, and this reignites the Roman and Vince feud from 2015 when Vince was getting arrested and all this. It's wacky. It's absolutely crazy. That's why it's giving ruthless aggression, attitude, but it's also giving some modern day stuff. Like, there's a lot of different angles here.
Hey, Corbin doing his thing in it, and so I'm here. So I'm here.
You feel me? Did a little for everyone there.
Armand, that's fire. I'm not gonna lie, I need that.
That's not funny. the fraternity test is so like 2008.
Vince has to adopt it.
2000. I love it.
If Vince was still around, I would feel like even if Theory wins world titles and all that, I'd be like, you could have went further and just adopted this little nigga. Like you really could have did that.
Yeah, it's like all right, this is the Jason Jordan storyline. We're just picking that back up. We never got to finish. Let's just see it through. I like it,
man. Yeah, you know.
Cool. So that's fun. You guys, I took it a similar direction, but I'll interested to see what you guys think of it because it's like similar, but I've changed some of the key players and I've focused on a different era. So I didn't really deal with like the NXT stuff. I started from the first call up in 2021 when he's drafted to Raw. So one thing to keep in mind with like my whole thing with theories, I remember when he won the Evolve Championship and how big of a deal they made him seem. So in my mind, I thought he was always going to be this like main event guy. So like mine kind of more leads into that. So also keep in mind, instead of taking selfies as his gimmick, I think that's kind of stupid. He takes like Polaroids. So someone hands him one of those like cheap cameras. He takes a picture of the nigga lay on the mat, like waves it off. And then like part of his like promos that he just has pictures of all these people he's beat. So anyway, 2021, he is drafted to Raw as our Rey and Dominic Mysterio. Backstage vignette, Theory goes up to Dom. He's like, you know what? It's us. It's a new era. You know, we start a new thing. Raw. Let's show the people what we got. And Dom's like, yeah, like, let's do it. Let's have a match. He's like, bet. He's like, you know what, Rey? Like, we're really trying to do our own thing. Like, you know, you should just go home. Like, Dom kind of got to make his own name. Like, you got to get out the mud. Like, that's how you did it. Dom's like, yeah, you're right, Dan. Like, go home. Like, take the night off. I got this. Me and Austin going to do our thing. You know, whatever. So they have a match. And again, this is kind of the thing I like about Theory was that promo he did with John Cena, where he's like, well, this is the new school. Like, we're the leaders of this. I really like that. So they have a match. Theory wins clean. After the match, you know, as a show of respect, he goes to grab Dom's hand, as you can expect, turns heel, proceeds to beat the dog shit out of Dominic Mysterio, which is one of the few things he is very good at. He cuts another promo being like, yeah, all that stuff I said to Dom was not true. I am the only one out here, like kind of like, you know, the ruthless aggression thing. Like, you have to be ruthless to get to the top. I'm trying to get Miss DeVille's attention. So that's one thing I'm keeping in mind. I'm replacing basically Vince with Sonya Deville. Because I think as like the power, you know, leather authority figure that she kind of has going on with like her gear and stuff. I think it's much more palatable than like Vince with all the weird like daddy stuff. So he beats Dom and then he puts Dom through an announce table. The next week, Rey Mysterio has a King of the Ring qualifying match against Sami Zayn. Austin Theory again comes out and interrupts. Rey loses. While Theory is out there, Dom comes out to make the save, but at an error at his waist, he gets now thrown off the stage, off onto the side, into the tables and everything. So this sets up a match at Crown Jewel, Rey Mysterio versus Dominic. Rey's like, Dom, you got to stay back. It's too dangerous. Theory's out of control. I can't do it. I can't have you out there getting hurt. Theory and Rey have their match. Squash. Theory washes Rey. He ends up this time putting Rey on the steel steps. One thing to note too is that Austin, when he first came up, his finisher was different. It didn't have like the knee part of the go to sleep. It was just like the stunner. And so I'm keeping that finisher too, which is better to do on like stuff. So he kind of takes Rey out of commission. And this is his big Crown Jewel, big first pay-per-view win. He's talking shit. Whole time he's like, I'm trying to get Miss DeVille's attention. I'm trying to show her I'm that guy. I should be number one. I should be the favorite. Then next week, we're getting ready for Survivor Series. Dominic versus Austin Theory as a qualifying match to see who will make the men's Survivor Series team. As you know, in real life, Theory replaces Rey because he's hurt on the show. And so this is kind of a way to get Austin Theory. He beats Dom again. I am the new school. I am the leader. Everything from this point kind of flows similarly. His Royal Rumble appearance, he ends up losing. Elimination Chamber loses, but has the big spot with Brock. And that is what finally earns him Miss DeVille's favor. So then after Elimination Chamber, Theory, he's backstage, kind of like Cece was saying, being a dick, like breaking stuff, like just pissed. He's like, really, like Brock trying to embarrass me. Like he thinks these old guys just want to hold on to their titles. They don't want to lose. And Sonya's like, I see what you're doing. WrestleMania is coming up. Finn Balor's our U.S. champion. We're trying to set up a tournament to see who will face him at WrestleMania. I'd love for you to be a part of it, Austin. Of course, I'd love to. I'll wipe out everyone in the way. Tournament with featuring the likes of, Otis, Apollo Crews, Chad Gable, Austin Theory. In the final, in the stunner of all stunners, Chad Gable ends up winning the final. So we have Finn Balor versus Chad Gable at WrestleMania 38, night 2. Oh, but the week before, during the contract signing, Chad Gable, babyface, Alpha Academy heel, Finn Balor, babyface, abs. It's built up. The crowd's going wild. Sonya Deville's music hits. You know what? This is a great match. I feel like it's coming up short. She specifically says that because they're both small individuals. She also says that it is missing, some WrestleMania experience. Boom. Austin Theory's music hits because he is, as Armand said, WrestleMania 36 veteran. Now have a triple threat match at WrestleMania. Austin Theory, Chad Gable, Finn Balor. As you know, triple threats are now no DQ. So in the final moments of the match, Austin Theory's outreach like having been laid out by a slingshot. Coup de grace on Chad Gable. Wait, the referee's down. Finn, wake him up. Wake him up, Finn. He's waking up the ref out of nowhere. Austin Theory, IC title, U.S. title to the face, gets Finn out of here. Chad Gable, 1, 2, 3. Austin Theory is your youngest U.S. champion. The mid-card has been defeated at WrestleMania. And, we're back in the current timeline where Austin Theory is our current U.S. champion. So I think that's kind of a way to more legitimize him as a heel. You kind of have like the similar thing of him being a favorite, but I think kind of like Cece was saying, once you earn it as like, I want to be the favorite, it always hits better than like, I just randomly picked Austin Theory. Because like one thing that always kind of misses, like, well, why him versus everybody else? Like, what does he did? So I think having these kind of series of matches, and Rey and Dom are very good for that, getting beat up by somebody. So, and also they're quite small, which allow Austin Theory to throw him around. Same with Finn Balor, Chad Gable. So I think you just build him up as this like ruthless, like kind of almost like shit heel who's like kind of like really arrogant and feels like he deserves all this stuff, but actually goes out there and is mean about it. I think you build him up a lot better. So where he is now, where it's like you said, without the phone and just a briefcase, he's so much more bearable because he has something tangible being like, this is why Vince was right about me. This is why I'm a big deal. Not just like I'm a big deal for no reason. And so yeah, again, you get the Finn Balor on. It took everything in me not to have a ladder match for the U.S. title, but I've booked it like 7 times. I booked it too many times.
You didn't say a ladder match.
That's the good card in you.
I specifically I wanted to, like, it was a triple threat. That was me just adding one thing. But I was like, I cannot do another like 5-person match because that's what I always want to do. So I purposely stopped myself, but just know it was in there. But I also think too, the swerve with Gable too, because like, he was super hot. I think he deserves a nice shot. I just feel like kind of like you were saying with Triple H, where I think one thing wrestlers do is because they're wrestlers, they'll just throw random wrestlers into stuff. Like they'll just be like, well, we need someone to be in this tournament. You haven't wrestled in a while. Let's just be in this. And you give guys runs, see what hits, see what doesn't. I think Chad Gable will be a perfect for that. He could eat the pin, loses nothing, gets a cool WrestleMania moment, get Theory over. Finn Balor doesn't have to lose a match as he's want to do, as he often does. So yeah, I think that'll be my rewrite. Give Theory some legitimacy, and also Sonya Deville. I feel like is just it just hits a little different. Him kind of pleading to like this powerful woman than him just kind of going to like 80-year-old geriatric Vince McMahon talking about like, can you give me a title shot? Like I just like it hit. Even with the egg stuff with Sonya Deville, I think and Adam Pearce, I think it could be funnier. Like even if you put Adam Pearce instead of Sonya, it's just like a funnier dynamic. Whereas it's like, how many Vince guys we gonna do? How many times we gonna do this, Vince? You did this with Drew McIntyre and it blew up spectacularly. Is Austin Theory gonna have to leave and come back? Like, what's gonna happen?
These are some of our most interesting rewrites, I have to say. It's
crazy that I almost wrote it like a long the same way you said, is he gonna leave and come back? I almost wrote that.
Yeah, no, it's crazy that Theory got our wheels turning because we're Galaxy Brain often, but this was like, and I think these were some of our like. I could see these really happening too. I think that's the best part about
every single thing y'all said. I'm like, I'm here.
It's because he's such a clean slate. Whereas like when you're rewriting Brock Lesnar, there's so much like back knowledge where it's like, well, I can never imagine Brock Lesnar doing that because he's done so much. Where it's like, I can imagine Austin Theory doing anything. Like there's nothing at this point that like he could do. So yeah, it would make sense he like is fighting Johnny Gargano, just like it would make sense that he's fighting Dominic Mysterio, just like it would make sense that he's catching the SummerSlam. Like he literally a blank canvas. Like you said, that's part of why he's the future. Like that match against him and Madcap, you felt like, oh, this is about to be something. It was like the match where Braun Baker and Carmelo Hayes ran. It's like, yeah, this is about to be a thing for a while now. Like, just get used to it.
You know what I think? Just last point I want to make. I think, how you're all saying earned heel? It's weird. Now that I'm looking at it, I think the idea was earning the baby face.
That might have been it, yeah.
Because when I look at him, I'm like, it's very clear they're trying to do another John Cena. Like, it's very clear.
Yeah, they look like, similar.
It's like a mix of like Cena and Randy, I feel.
Yeah. The facial hair is very Randy, but the jaw structure is very John Cena. If that makes sense.
Well, that was our rewrite, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you go back and listen to all of our episodes if you're a new listener. Again, A Show 250 is coming very soon. Pre-orders for A Show merch available this Friday. Make sure that you get a shirt. The Revenge Tour will be coming to an end soon, and you do not want to not be a part of the A Show Revenge Tour. Get your shirt. It comes with something nice as well. Make sure you tap into all of the A Show Network shows, the A Show itself, the War Report, Spot Callers, all that good stuff. And most of all, if you are not subscribed to the Patreon, patreon.com/AShowRNC to hear our Before We Write segment, some fun discussion about who we would book as a world champion of the many celebrities in the world, and a lot of Vince McMahon talk this episode. So with that, for Armand, for CC, we are the Men of the Pen. We hope you all have a fantastic next few weeks.